Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Welcome to episode 9 of the Sling'N Led podcast. I'm TJ, and somewhat sad, but very, very happy. Sad that Kent cannot be here with us tonight, but that is because he and Mrs. Hauer are celebrating the birth of their brand new healthy baby boy, James. So, Kent, congratulations to you and Sophie. We look forward to James's debut on the show here in the near future. But in Kent's stead, we have the lovely Genevieve Jones. Genevieve, welcome back to the show.
Hi, thanks, TJ. I really am so excited to be on here. Of course, I miss Kent, and I'm really happy for him. His baby is absolutely adorable, so I hope that they're enjoying that tonight.
Oh, I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are. But no, it's an absolute pleasure. We love having you here. You know, as you well know from us getting to know each other over these past several months. Mental health is an important topic to both Kent and myself, and we always invite the champions of that cause to come on the show. And not to mention, you're kind of awesome and we like you. So
thanks.
Genevieve, the last time we had you on, we had you and Sarah on, and when we were talking about specifically mental health issues, we were talking about your cause, or your and Sarah's cause, HoldMyGuns. So recently you guys did get or reach your crowdfund goal of $5,000. So why don't you give us an update, and the folks at home an update on how that's going, and what can we expect in the near future?
Sure. So just in case anybody listening doesn't know what HoldMyGuns is, just a really quick recap. We are a crisis firearm storage solution. So if someone in the house is going through a time of personal crisis, whether it be the gun owner or someone else in the family, they can go to a partnering FFL or gun shop with HoldMyGuns, and they can temporarily store their firearms under consignment laws. No questions asked, when it provides a safe place to heal and get treatment while whatever is going on without getting the government involved, without getting police involved. And then when that time is up, they can go back to the gun shop or the FFL and get their firearms back, just like a regular consignment. So they'd have to fill out a 4473, and doesn't have to be public, taking care of personal situations before they become public ones. And we did just reach our funding, which Sarah and I are ecstatic about. And thank you to everybody who donated anything. It means a lot that people have put their trust in us to do this properly, and have put their trust in us to protect the Second Amendment and allow people to get help and heal from whatever it is that they're facing. So thank you so much for that. We are currently waiting for our official nonprofit approval so that we can move forward with everything. That should be any day now. And we are going to be announcing our board soon. So big things are going to be happening probably, by the end of the month, hopefully. I don't want to promise anything without Sarah being here, but it's going to be soon.
No, that's fantastic. So you guys already have a few FFLs lined up to at least participate in the initial start of the program?
Yeah, we have a lot of interest from people, which is really incredible. And I mean, the more podcasts that we go on, and again, you and Kent have helped us get off the ground from the very beginning. And just from that show alone, we've gotten interest from people who are emailing us and calling us and messaging us, just saying that they want to be involved any way that they can. So really, the support has been phenomenal. So we hope to launch our pilot program with about 10 to 15 partnering FFLs.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I mean, how many, and I know it's a nonprofit. I know, it's a nonprofit organization. It's meant for a good cause. So please don't let this demean it. But how many businesses do you know that, like, from startup already have, 10 to 15 interested partner or affiliate locations ready to start up and adopt this program? I think that really speaks to the quality of not only the leadership, but the amazing qualities and the ideals behind HoldMyGuns. So yeah, we are happy to do it. I'm actually very happy to hear that we were able to help out, not only with the donations, but actually helping generate some interest there. With us being such a small and relatively new podcast, it's always nice to know that, hey, even the little guys can have an impact. So that's fantastic news. So with that, the topic of tonight's chat is mental health and guns, right? Mm-hmm. So Genevieve, for those that don't know, you can follow Genevieve on Instagram at Beyond the Unknown. I won't spell it out like John does, but
You gotta add the dots in
yeah,
between.
you got to add the dots in between, but beyond unknown on Instagram. And if you follow and pay attention to Genevieve's feed, she is constantly posting motivational messages, those little inspirational quotes and little post-it notes to kind of help get us through the day. And for as long as I've known her, this has been a cause that's been near and dear to Genevieve's heart. But Genevieve, I'm going to paint you into a corner just a little bit.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Now, if we didn't have social media today,
Mhm.
and you had one main, talking point about mental health that you could champion, what would it be?
I think without social media, you're saying, so just in regular conversation.
Yeah, your halftime 50-yard line of the Super Bowl. Without social media, it's probably the most watched sporting event at the time. So rewind about 20 years ago. We're going to hand you the microphone, and you can say whatever you want to really hammer home what it is that you stand under, that flag you bear, that you wish everybody would pay attention to. What would it be?
Probably, you are not alone. And runner up to that would have to be mental health issues do not make me dangerous. I use the hashtag anxiety doesn't make me dangerous on social media, but that I pretty much believe that for any mental health issue. I mean, like 99% of the people who suffer from anything are not a danger or a threat, and they've always been seen that way since I've been around and conscious of all of this going on. They've always been seen as a danger to others, and that's just not the case.
No, I agree wholeheartedly, and I think that's a fantastic message to bring. I'd have to echo that. If we could swap roles for a second, I'd have to just repeat everything you just said, guys. Even I have gone through some tough times. Right, I consider myself lucky that the stuff that I had to deal with was not nearly as severe as something that somebody else might be going through, but it affects everyone,
Mm-hmm.
and you shouldn't feel ashamed to say, hey, I'm dealing with this. I need some help. And by all means, go talk to someone,
Yep.
a family member, a friend, a confidant, priest, rabbi, brother or sister in arms in the military, or chaplain, whatever the case might. Hell, even your doctor, right? But go get that help that you need. Don't let the stigma stop you. So Genevieve, so of course we're this being a gun channel, we also we're talking about mental health and guns.
Sure.
And there was a conversation I heard recently, really just kind of going back and forth with it, more to address one of the common positions on firearms ownership, even from those that claim to be pro-gun or pro-2A, and that is, I'm all for everybody having guns except for the crazy people.
Yeah.
Right? So what are your thoughts on that premise? And you know what? Let's just rip that can wide open and just unleash you on that. But yeah, what are your thoughts on it? Because, I'll admit, even I've kind of fallen into that category before, where it's like, hey, look, everyone has a right to defend themselves, but there are some more severe mental health issues that many people are aware of. And granted, a lot of it can be painted with a broad brush. Not everybody who's schizophrenic is hearing, is not everybody's Sybil, right? Let's break out some high school psychology 101 to everybody. But, not everyone is a danger, but, what are your thoughts on that premise that, I'm cool with everybody having guns, but the crazy people?
Well, my first, I like how you said unleash the can of worms. That's funny because I really hate that.
I'm just gonna keep picking that scab all night.
That's not a problem at all. My first response is always, can you define crazy for me? Because I think a lot of people use that as just a broad term. And the problem with that is that when we use broad terms like the word crazy, that means something different to every single person. So there really is no set definition of what crazy is. It's just whatever that particular person feels crosses that line. And how can we make laws, and how can we dictate how people are allowed to live their lives based on something that doesn't even have an exact definition? I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. So that is always kind of my first question. And it's interesting how little people know about mental health. And exactly like you mentioned, TJ, with the schizophrenia example, and not everybody is like that. And even if they are, I go to therapy myself, and I sometimes ask my therapist these questions because I try to be as informed as I can, and I think it's interesting to learn about. I was speaking to her the other day, and she said that there's a difference between thought and action, right? So even if you're having these thoughts where you're hearing voices in your head, or even if you're having these thoughts where you act inappropriately to certain situations, that by no means dictates how you're going to respond. That doesn't mean that you're going to go around shooting a bunch of people because you think you'll like how it feels. Like, thoughts are thoughts, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to act on them. And she's been in practice for a long time, and she's seen a lot of this type of thing, and it's like the 1% of people who react that way. So there's a ton of functioning people who probably have these disorders that we've probably met before, every single person listening, and then we have no idea. Just because they're having these thoughts, and punishing people for the thoughts that they're having is just, it's absurd, because it doesn't mean that they're going to react in the way that you think they're going to, or the way that social media has portrayed people. So I just think that everyone needs to do their research and really understand what they're talking about before they make an opinion on it.
No, you're absolutely right. I think the gun industry, despite a lot of good that it does, the people that make up the gun industry often fall victim to behaving in the exact same manner that we accuse, the people on the other side of the aisle of doing. So, for example, they're champion a gun control cause or a new gun control law or red flag law or whatever. Pick X anti-constitutional law, and they're doing it based off of what? Emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there was a latest tragedy. Yay, another pile of bodies for me to stand upon and wave my banner of virtue signaling. When we sit down and say things like, oh, I'm okay with everybody should be able to own guns. Everybody has the inherent right to self-defense and preservation of their own lives and the lives of those that they love and care about, because the cops ain't coming to save you. No one's going to be there in time to help you. You have to be responsible for yourself. Oh, but you talk to a therapist. Hold on there, buddy. You might be coming up to that line of people that I don't think should have a gun because that schizophrenia is bad, and because I saw a movie, everybody that's a schizophrenic is a murderer in waiting. So, I gotta say that's always been something that bugs me. We're guilty of conducting the same behavior and same thought processes, just with a different end in mind.
Right.
As the people that we're so vehemently against oftentimes. So it's actually kind of sad. So in your opinion, this is a question I don't even think I could answer, but
Great.
Yeah. So is there a line, right?
That's such a good question.
No. Well, let's clear the air here real quick. There is nobody that is participating in this podcast right now that is more pro-gun and more pro-Constitution than Genevieve and myself, okay?
That's true.
So, like I said, I used to think that way. I used to have these limits. I've even gone so far as to say, hey, look, you can't say that a former felon has paid their debt to society and then continue to restrict their rights. They either have paid their debt or they haven't. And if they're still so dangerous that they should own a gun, then they shouldn't have been let out of prison to begin with, right?
Exactly.
That's pretty much where my thing's going to be. But as far now, I will admit that there has got to be an extreme case somewhere that is like, okay, like, listen, everybody has the right to defend themselves, but at the very least, I don't think you should have a gun like in public, right? I just don't know what that line is. So I'm asking you, as somebody who's much more attuned to, especially the mental health cases or mental health issues than myself. Do you think there's a line with regards to mental health issues?
I've thought about this a lot. I mean, like a lot. I mean, like when I close my eyes to go to sleep at night and end up having insomnia for 2 hours, it's because of this. And I think that me personally and what I truly believe, no, there's not a line for me. And I've thought a lot about this. I've considered, I just recently saw the Joker movie. It was really, really good. And the actor portraying the Joker and how it was written, that is the portrayal of someone who is like severely mentally disturbed. And I took that example even and started thinking about it in my mind. I'm like, there is no line, because if someone is at the point where they are a danger to other people, if someone is at the point where they cannot function in society properly, then we should be taking away their cars. We should be taking away alcohol. We should be taking away knives. We should be taking away pots and pans, forks, utensils. I mean, like taking away a gun, what is that going to do? If somebody wants to do something evil, they'll use any tool at their disposal. And for my own personal thought, if someone is going to do something bad, then someone is going to do something bad. And that's the reason why I train, and I'm going to be prepared to face that. When we start going down this rabbit hole of like, where do we draw the line? What diagnosis do we stop allowing people to own guns when they get that particular diagnosis? Like, that's such a dangerous path to travel down, because who defines those terms, and who decides if that person is diagnosed with that or not? Like, it's so dangerous. But the bottom line, if somebody can't function in society, or they have done something to prove that they are a danger to other people, then they shouldn't be on the street anyway.
No, this is a very valid point. You know what? I applaud your insomnia.
Thanks.
Because I'll be honest, you know, you're right yet again. I mean, we have to remember, and we have to remind ourselves that we live in a nation founded on the principles of liberty and freedom,
Mm-hmm.
and that you are innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
Just because somebody has the capability or the ability to do something, they cannot be stripped of those rights until they have actually acted upon it.
Exactly.
So those are some very valid thoughts there. I will admit that, and I hope you agree with me on this. While we can maintain that, there's still some people that I'm going to keep a close eye on.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Like, hey, you've got this right, but I'm watching you, bud.
Well, yeah, and that plays into what situational awareness is, which is important anyway.
Oh, wait, you mean I can't find out about the car speeding down the street as I'm crossing it from looking at my phone? Oh God, social media has made us all socially inept. But yeah, so okay, fantastic. So let's see So we've talked about your champion cause, you know, essentially removing the stigma. If you let's play that game again. What other key takeaways or key points would you like to make about mental health awareness and firearms ownership or anything of the sort?
I would really love to share just a couple facts with people that I didn't know, and I think are really eye-opening about mental health in general. And one of those things is that depression does not necessarily relate to suicide. And that is something that is really interesting. And in some cases, it can contribute to that. And it's not you're depressed, so you're suicidal. Like, those two things do not always happen cohesively. So when we always talk about depression and suicide, like, we have to help depressed people so they don't commit suicide, like, that is not necessarily what's actually going on. So when we always talk about depressed people shouldn't have firearms so they don't kill themselves, well, they might not. And suicide can be what is the word I'm looking for? It's not symptom, but suicide can happen because of another illness other than depression. I mean, it can happen for a multitude of reasons.
Oh yeah, just try to quit smoking and get right. Prescribed something to help you with smoking. One of the key side effects. You know what? I'm not even going to say the drug name, but there are several popular smoking or tobacco cessation pharmaceuticals on the market where a side effect is increased thoughts of suicide.
Antidepressants they say on the thing, you can have increased thoughts of suicide. You're taking an antidepressant, which can cause increased thoughts of suicide. How does that make any sense? That always perplexed me. But
did I mention I'm also pro pot legalization, by the way?
I'm a libertarian, so as far as I'm concerned, people can do whatever they want as long as I can do whatever I want.
Well, we'll have to save the pharmaceutical talk for another show. We could go on for days on that one.
We could. But I guess the one takeaway from that I really want people to have is the thing that I hear the most often is we want to stop people who are depressed from having guns so that they don't harm themselves or someone else. And I just really want to pound into people's heads that those things are not always correlated. Like they're not always a cause and effect situation there. So for example, with HoldMyGuns, we're a suicide prevention organization. Like our goal is to prevent suicide. However, we don't say we are a suicide prevention organization by helping people with depression, because then it's just like that one section of people, and then no one else can feel like they're allowed to get help. So that's one thing that I would want to put a point on. Another is that there's two really common terms, which I am positive you've heard of, TJ, a psychopath and a sociopath.
Yes.
You've heard those terms. And those two terms are used to define a lot of the people who have committed these horrible atrocities, and they're terms that are used to describe people who someone thinks shouldn't be able to own firearms. Like, oh, we wouldn't want sociopaths to own guns. Something that is a really fun fact in the DSM-5, which is the most recent book of diagnostic mental health disorders, or whatever the actual term is, but the DSM-5, you can look it up. Those two things are not in there. They are not actual diagnosis. Those are two terms that are made up by modern media to
interesting
categorize certain people. So when we use the term sociopath and psychopath, that's not a real thing. You're just using words.
Well, it's funny you referenced the Joker movie you just saw, because probably one of my favorite definitions or descriptions of those two terms came from Heath Ledger's Joker, which in my opinion was the best Joker.
It was.
A psychopath is someone that doesn't know the difference between right and wrong. A sociopath is someone who does know the difference and doesn't care. Right. Based on that definition alone, I would say 99% of the House of Representatives, the President of the United States, SCOTUS, anybody else that would seek to be in charge of other people would fall under one of those two categories.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it's probably for their benefit that those definitions did not make it into the lexicon.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So speaking of laws, you guys just spent some time up at the Capitol. They're in Pennsylvania. Yep. What are some of your lessons learned about that? I understand that there was an interesting crowd outside, but from everything that you guys have been doing and participated in with respect to the red flag laws, speaking again to the topic of the mental health issues, what are some of the recent developments that you guys have, one, seen in your own state, and two, maybe what, given your placement and access through your work on social media and with the Gun Collective, what are some of the things that you guys are seeing gaining any traction on or dealing with the red flag law developments that seem to be quite popular these days? Sure.
So the interesting thing about that I want to state from the Harrisburg rally is I was not inside. I was outside. I had my dog Felix with me, and the crowd outside was incredibly divided on this issue, which really kind of broke my heart a little bit. And there was a gentleman, I have no idea what his name was because he refused to tell me. He came over and started talking about how he was hunting with his dad and blah, blah, blah. And it became very apparent very soon that he was anti-gun. And he started talking to us about how
I can follow that train of logic. I was hunting with my dad and I hate guns.
Okay. Sense. Yeah. I know. It's all just a tactic, to try to make people open up to you and then be like, but what are your thoughts on this? Don't you think this is better?
I'm sorry, but that's kind of like qualifying yourself as not racist by saying all of my black friends.
Yeah.
I can't be racist. I've got a friend who's black.
What a great
I'm the perfect person to talk to about guns. I've been hunting with my dad, and I hate guns. Okay, whatever.
Right, exactly.
But anyway, please continue.
For you, man, huh?
If you're not pissing someone off, you're not doing your job right. So,
Yeah.
But no, please. Anyway, continue.
So just that conversation alone, there was like probably 10 of us gathered around this gentleman, and he kept screaming like, we need a solution, we need answers. And I'm sitting there like literally raising my hand because he wouldn't let me talk. I'm like, I have one, like, hi, hello, can I tell you about this? And he wouldn't let me talk. But he ended up just barking in everyone's faces. You would agree that crazy people shouldn't have guns, and there's some people who shouldn't be allowed to have guns, and this is why red flag laws are a good thing. And almost all of the people who were standing around here listening to him said, yeah, well, you're not going to get any opposition on us from that. But this other stuff is where we draw the line. And it's like, whoa, like, wait a second. If you're just, and what people don't understand is that red flag laws, they have nothing to do with mental health. That's how the media and that's how the politicians are marketing it to all of these sheep who are just believing everything that they're saying. I mean, you can get red flagged for hunting. You can get red flagged for leaving your dog in a car with the air conditioning on. I'm not even kidding. Go look up the legislation. You can get red flagged because your neighbor thinks you're too loud and knows you own guns. So they can say, oh, this person definitely beats his wife, or this person definitely beats her husband. Like, we hear banging in the middle of the night and they have guns. Go deal with this.
Guys, be careful. It's okay. She's got a safe word.
Yeah. But I mean,
she's just expressing herself. Let it go.
It affects everyone. And that's another thing. When people tell me you shouldn't be talking about the things you're talking about, you're going to get yourself red flagged. I'm like, you should wake up, because everyone is at risk. This is a gun confiscation order. It has nothing to do with mental health.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's just a fit of civil discourse. I hope they do pass something like that in at least one state with enough people that have the backbone to start calling in red flag laws on all the people that try to govern it. Like, yeah, that representative, I saw him drinking and driving, and he left a puppy in the car after he hit it with a kitten, and then he shoved over a Girl Scout and didn't buy any cookies. So, yeah, I want him red flagged. And then they kick his door in, drag him out by the hair of his head, and take all of his guns.
Yeah. What do you mean you didn't buy the cookies?
Oh, that backfired. How do you hit a puppy with a kitten? It's monster.
A really, really interesting thought, TJ. I hadn't even thought of that possibility. Like, seriously, worst case scenario, if that ends up passing in Pennsylvania, I am doing that.
Well, and the funny thing is, there's a politician out there that's probably a domestic abuser or a drunk or on some type of illicit drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. You want to sharpen that double-edged sword? Well, I get a swing too, buddy.
I wonder how that would work. I really do.
Nothing to it but to do it.
Yeah, I know, exactly. We luckily don't currently have them in Pennsylvania. It's been proposed, and it's something that we're fighting against. And it was really disheartening to see everyone's reaction at Harrisburg, because if everyone is divided on this, it will pass, and that's just gonna suck. It's gonna be really bad. I mean, if red flag laws happen across the board, there's going to be a civil war. Like, people are not going to stand for that. We're going to be blamed for things that we didn't even do. We're guilty until proven innocent, and no due process whatsoever. I mean, like, how is that going to hold up?
Yeah, it is frightening, to say the least. I could tell you, over the course of my deployments, there was, pretty much everywhere you turn, a news outlet was on the television, right? And it was usually on every television. There was a different news outlet, but it was mostly media or really cheesy Armed Forces Network commercials. But I got to be honest, one of the toughest things about those deployments, there was a lot tough about them, but one of the toughest things was watching the media and watching my own country rot from the outside. I really wished I could say and look you square in the face and tell you that it's not still rotting. But the fact that these politicians are being allowed to even contemplate passing laws that would blatantly circumvent the civil liberties of a free people of this country, it makes my blood boil. So yeah, civil discourse all day long.
Yeah.
And you could even sit here and draw the line. We could war game this all day and say, oh well, but if you call a false report on somebody, then that's a violation of the law too. Oh, okay, well, that's what people don't understand is that's exactly how it works. These red flag laws are being passed, and there is nothing in there stating that any physical evidence. There is no preponderance of evidence rule. The hearings are ex parte, which means you don't even have to be in the room while this judge is issuing an edict to have the cops go kick your door in and take your shit. It has already happened.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? Oregon? I think in the Northeast it happened as well. I don't want to misquote it, but it's happened at least twice that I can think of off the top of my head.
And police have died already because of this,
as well as otherwise law-abiding citizens. Right. So don't sit here and pass what I'm calling witch hunt legislation and expect us not to do something about it.
Right.
I'm going to be quite honest with you. I really hope to God that a civil war doesn't break out.
Me too. I don't want to see that.
People get triggered and freaking out over labels and words. What are you going to do when there's blood running down the streets? I promise you, people, this is not something that you want in this country.
No, and people who talk about, I've heard multiple times, oh, I don't care about these politics. Just let me know when I can go in the middle of the street and start shooting people. No, you do not want to do that. Like, I promise you don't want to do that.
I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Usually the loudest person in the room is the one that's the most full of shit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, it's all fun and gay. You'll be the first one turning your guns in, dude. I don't even want to hear that bullshit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's how often are we presented with these otherwise unconstitutional laws that actually apply to everyone? Congress and legislators all the time are writing themselves out of the laws, insider trading, all this other stuff. Oh, you guys have to give up your guns. We're going to come take your AKs and your AR-15s. Hell yes, blah, blah, blah. But my personal security detail is going to have fully auto MP7s, level 15A body armor. We're going to have a tank, armored personnel carriers, all this other shit. But no, not you peasants. Newsflash, buddy. Red flag laws don't protect you either. So
another version of the us or them thing. We're politicians and we're different and we're expected to have this amount of security, but that's totally different. They don't need that. I need that.
Yeah. So I'm all for it. I absolutely support the idea of civil disobedience and demonstrating the applicability of such laws should they be passed.
Yeah. And let's just not let it get to that point. Like, let's really all just come to a cohesive conclusion and just let's not be okay with them,
Yeah.
'cause they're not okay. And people have a very morphed reality of what they think that this is going to do.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Let's continue on with the politics conversation a little bit with regards to really the Second Amendment. So you guys have, I've seen posts from at least John. If you have posted one and I missed it, I apologize. But there is a lot of buzz on social media right now about a big rally here in DC on November 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand you guys are going to be involved with that, at least to some extent, at least participate, I'm sure. So I'm curious, what do you expect the turnout is going to be like?
So I actually literally, like, legitimately laughed out loud today because I heard somebody say that there was going to be 20,000 people there. And it was bad. I mean, like, no, there is never going to be that. You could have the best rally in the entire universe and 20,000 people are not going to show up. And, I've been to quite a few rallies, and the one in Harrisburg this year was great. I mean, combining inside and outside. There was several hundred people there. It's awesome. It was totally full. I don't expect more than what I saw at Harrisburg. Maybe 500 people. That would be great. I mean, that's a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I hope that as many people as possible can show up and support the Second Amendment and stand there and fight for all of our constitutional rights. So I encourage anyone that can get to DC on the 2nd, they should definitely go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think I don't want to be the naysayer, but I think I'm with you. I don't think 20,000 is going to happen just because for some reason, and I don't even label gun, the pro gun side strictly under this banner, but generally conservatives, or the more right side libertarian, spectrum, we do a horrible job at showing up.
Yeah, we really do.
Now we'll go vote, but if you want a demonstration or anything like that, good luck. I don't understand. By the way, folks, November 2nd's on a weekend.
Yeah.
So,
which is good and bad.
I mean, it's good in the fact that you can't say the old cop out of, well, I can't protest like a lot of these liberals because I got a job.
Well, yeah.
It's on a Saturday, boo, dude. Come on. But yeah, I've actually been contemplating. I'd like to try to make that. I can't see a reason why I couldn't. So you guys might just see me there.
Cool.
So, but yeah, the Second Amendment community, guys, you gotta light that fire. You gotta get out and participate. Hell, I mean, if anything, actually call and I don't mean fill out the little form that that Firearms Policy Coalition or GOA or the NRA gives you, that little automated email. No, call them. Call them. Call your congressman, call your senators, call the switchboard. If you don't get your senator or your representative, leave a message.
Yeah.
Let them know. So I'm really curious about this, Genevieve, because I haven't actually been in a position where I've been able to get face-to-face with a legislator.
Mm-hmm.
I have participated in certain events like the rally that's coming up on the Second Amendment, or for the Second Amendment on November 2nd. But I'm really curious, what has been, if you've been privy to such a reaction, but what's generally been the reaction and the response from legislators and politicians that actually see people showing up to support the Second Amendment?
It really varies, and I have a really difficult time trusting politicians of any sort, because the left will start saying like, oh, woe is me, like they always get to talk and we never get our say. I've heard that before from legislators on the left. Legislators on the right are thankful that people show up, but kind of indifferent is the vibe that I've gotten from a lot of the things that I've attended. And as far as in rallies, I haven't gotten the chance to personally speak to any legislators. In regards to Hold My Guns, I actually have outside of a rally, and the reaction to the idea behind Hold My Guns has been a generally positive one. We had one legislator ask us the question, which I thought was really interesting. They said, "What would you guys do to prevent mass shootings?" And I kind of thought to myself, well, we're not an anti-terrorist organization. I think that everyone in politics, whether it be on the left or the right, they just want one solution that fixes all of these problems. And when they don't get it, it's kind of just like, all right, well, I'm not really going to pay that much attention to this then.
Yeah, I've always been secretly hoping to get into a debate face to face with somebody like that. Because I would immediately turn around with the idea, and if anybody wants to debate this idea, please feel free to chime in, leave your comments below. But what would we do to ban or to stop mass shootings, right?
Right.
So I would turn that question right around. But we have to understand one single solitary premise. You will never, at least not in many, many lifetimes, actually get rid of all the guns in this country. Mm-hmm. So if we can agree that no matter, even if all the law-abiding people on the planet turn in all their guns, there will still be guns in this country. So people will still have guns. And if they really, so getting rid of guns isn't going to happen. So you can't stop mass shootings by getting rid of guns, right? So if that's the
Mhm.
case and we can agree on that premise, I would ask, what would they do? And I like to envision that their response would probably be like, oh, we would increase police presence. So let's take this full circle here, folks. So let me get this straight. We agree that you can't get rid of guns. You can't obviously legislate evil. And because the shooters, they're still going to happen, right? So your answer to that is to put more guns into the situation. So why not just let the people that already carry the guns carry the guns?
Right.
So yeah, it's it's those little like sadistic envisions that you have in the back of your head, like, oh man, I really wish I would have said this during that argument.
I do that so bad too. I always come up with the best comebacks when I'm not actually talking to the person anymore.
like fine, you walk away and you're like you're laying in bed about to go to sleep and your eyes pop up and you're like, damn it, I should have said that. Oh man. So we actually are getting a few posts in the chat here. Apparently, the CDC and FBI have issued a statement. I need to probably find a link on this. That red flag laws and gun control laws do absolutely nothing. I mean, we knew that. I think generally everybody kind of knew that secretly, but to have government organizations come out and say that is very interesting.
That's a turn for the better if that's true. I would love to read more about that when we get off here. That's great.
Yeah, I'm taking a note on that one. I'm gonna have to find that. But okay, outstanding. So Genevieve, this has been a fantastic conversation. God, I love having you on this show.
I love being here. Thank you.
Kent, we replaced you. We could never do that. So let's see. We've really gone full circle here. So let's talk more about some. If you are comfortable with doing so, I'd like to hear more about Genevieve.
Sure.
Right. No, because you talk, and I did catch your participation or your interview with John on TGC Surplus, and you guys really started to go down. You started to go down the OCD path, right? I really want to give you an opportunity to continue that conversation. So as much as you're comfortable doing so, I'll be even happy to take questions from you. We'll have this vulnerable moment where we talk about some of the personal stuff that we've had to deal with. So let's start with the OCD aspect of it.
Sure.
How has it impacted your life? What are some of the, even something, I think we could agree that OCD, socially speaking, is a relatively accepted, I'm using the term loosely here, but it's relatively accepted. It's considered, I guess, one of the more benign of the mental health issues. At least generally, keep in mind, I'm taking the position of the layman here. But what have been some of the things that you have learned through your own journey and as you go through your path of discovery and really just kind of getting in tune with the challenges that you face and stuff like that? So why don't you educate myself and the rest of the listeners on OCD and how it's impacted your life?
Okay. So I think that when you say generally accepted, yes. However, it's generally accepted because people have no clue what it is. And
blissful ignorance. We can agree to that.
Mm-hmm. So typically when somebody hears OCD, and people have used it in jokes and memes all the time, it's about this need to be organized and like, oh, my letters on my desk are slightly mishapped. I need to, put them in a nice pile there and everything will be fine. And I just like to keep everything clean and I like to wash my hands a lot. I mean, that's pretty much what people think that is, right?
Howard Hughes type stuff.
Right. So it's interesting because someone will say, I'm being so OCD right now. And I said, oh, what do you have to do or else something bad will happen? Like, what? So why are you washing your hands? Like, what's going to happen if you don't wash your hands? And they're like, I'll be dirty. Like, I don't know. I want to wash my hands, So that's not OCD. OCD is someone's going to get in a car accident and die if I don't wash my hands 25 times. And whereas the person who suffers from OCD is aware that that is not reality and that is not how things actually work, the brain misfires in a way where the amount of anxiety that you feel over that thought convinces you that that's going to happen if you don't do X behavior. And it's really like an actual living hell. Some of the thing, well, first, before I get into that, obsessive compulsive disorder, it's comprised of two elements. There's the obsessions, which is the intrusive, unwanted thought. And then there's the compulsion or the ritual, which is the action that you have to perform to undo the thought or prevent the thought from happening or decrease the anxiety from that thought. So with me personally, I have one with getting dressed is really difficult for me, because if I touch an article of clothing and one of those intrusive thoughts comes in my head of John getting hurt or of Felix getting hurt, my dog is Felix for reference. If I touch a shirt and say Felix might get hit by a car if I wear this shirt, then the anxiety in me feels like that's going to happen and it will be my fault if I wear that. The problem with that is that the intrusive thoughts happen all the time, because that's part of being human, is having intrusive thoughts. So every single shirt, every single article of clothing that I have is associated with this bad thing. So then I end up sitting there with no options left, and there's just it's absolute chaos. And then you just feel this guilt and this horrible anxiety and this sadness, because you get so consumed with it, or I get so consumed with it sometimes, where I feel like it's already happening and I need to like snap myself out of it. It's kind of like a night terror or a flashback, for if anyone listening has PTSD. It sort of feels that way, where you can't snap yourself out of your perceived reality at that time. So that basically is what OCD is. And there's other categories of it as well. There's a category of OCD that's really unheard of, especially with the firearms community. And that category is harm obsessions, where, take the same scenario, for example, if someone had the same ritual that I did with the clothing, and they touched a shirt and they said, wow, I'm really scared that I'm going to stab somebody if I wear this shirt. That's a harm obsession. So they won't wear it because they're so terrified to hurt somebody. But those thoughts can happen all the time. So if you think about someone with firearms who has OCD, they could potentially have the thought of like, if I wear this, I might shoot somebody. So I can't wear this because I don't want to shoot somebody. But you have these intrusive thoughts. And this is exactly what I was saying before, TJ, where thought does not equal action. We should never be punished for the thoughts that we have, because everyone has intrusive thoughts. And that does not mean we're going to act on it. People with OCD are like some of the safest people in the world because they're so afraid to make a mistake. But if you heard someone say, oh yeah, I just had this thought that like I might kill somebody if I do this, like you would, the immediate reaction is, oh my gosh, you're dangerous. And that's simply just not the case. And that's really, really a difficult thing for people to understand.
Yeah. It's those people out there that are going to lie to themselves and say that they've never had a violent thought or a harmful thought.
Right.
You completely lied to yourself. Although I will admit, in a bit of irony, the I can't remember the name of it, but the pretty much the mental health assessment that you go through in the military asks you if you've ever had thoughts of violence or doing harm to others as you're standing there in a uniform that reads United States Army. And you're like, you guys trained me to kill people.
Yeah.
What do you think? Yes. So, but no, you're absolutely right. Just because you think those things does not necessarily make you a bad person.
Right.
So it's, I really don't want to demean it, although there's really no other way to put it. How many people have watched a movie like Heat or Ocean's 11 and thought about, hey, if I was going to rob a bank,
right,
how would I do it? Well, obviously, you're not just going to go in and say, you're not going to just like, oh, I'm going to activate my superpowers and blend it. You're actually putting yourselves in the mind and the position of a violent armed bank robbery, right? That's a harmful thought. Like it affects everybody. Just because I'd be willing to bet that a vast majority of the people out there who have put themselves in those shoes have not actually gone out and robbed a bank, right? So these are things that people deal with, and truth be told, we'll do a little bit of a PSA here. If you are having those thoughts and it's getting real enough to where you are truly concerned and are starting to show signs that you not only thought about it, but could possibly follow through with that stuff, you need to go get help. Don't wait longer. Don't put it off. Go get the help. Talk to somebody. Seek out a therapist. While Genevieve and I are trying to have this healthy discussion about removing the stigma associated with mental health, there are still people that are really dealing with some very serious problems in their lives and do have their lives and the lives of others around them that are affected by not only their thoughts, but more specifically their actions. And if you feel like you might be going down that path, seek counseling, seek assistance, and by all means, don't stay quiet. Go get the help you need. And actually, I think that's a great. No, go ahead.
That's a beautiful message, TJ. And I really wanted to just add in there that if you are listening and you think that you might be going down that path that TJ described, and even if other people do, you have two people here who do not think that you are demented or broken or a horrible person. And just because you're struggling with something and just because you're having these thoughts does not make you a bad person. And TJ and I want everyone to be able to seek help that needs help so that they can live a happy life and have joy and not go down a path that's really, really hard, not because we're being judgmental of everyone.
Nope. I would be quicker to judge someone who kept putting it off and knew, even if it's in hindsight, knew that they were heading down that path and didn't go get the help and it did get as bad as it possibly could, than I would somebody who is starting to have those concerns.
Right.
And goes to get hell, DM me. I am on Instagram all the time, Facebook. I don't want to speak for Genevieve, but hey, message us. If we can't help you, I'm pretty sure that we will find somebody that you can talk to that is way more qualified than me. Get out there.
Right.
Yeah, get out there and talk to people. Hell, I mean, Genevieve, you and I have only known each other for a little while now. I've got no issues talking to you guys. Like I'll message you and John in a heartbeat. So, although I'm pretty sure John makes fun of me when I'm not paying attention.
Oh, stop it.
No,
other than that, it's fine.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I got to paint him in a negative light because I'm jealous of his full head of very coiffed hair.
You should see how much time he spends on that too. Like I got mad at him earlier today because he was just like, he's going to kill me for saying this, but it's happening. John took me to Ulta Beauty Supply because he needed a boar bristle brush.
He still had that gift card from Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's awesome.
So there you
go. I can joke because I've been balding since 20. So yeah, I wish I could just take I wish my wife and I could go shopping at Ulta together. But anyway, so yeah, it's so getting back on to the topic at hand here, through your journey. Thank you for explaining the OCD thing to us. I mean, I absolutely associated the OCD. I fell into that category. OCD is somebody that's obsessed. There's certainly a reason for it. They're not just acting on the compulsion, right? I certainly understood the obsessive and compulsive thought of it, or portion of it, but for example, my train of thought was, okay, somebody has to or who is compelled to wash their hands repeatedly might be obsessed with germs.
Right.
Right. So, yeah, maybe there's a phobia associated with it or some concern. But as far as like the intrusive thought, like I was a bit of a germaphobe until I had children. And then I sent them to school and realized that they come back as walking petri dishes. It's
a great experiment.
My immune system's never been higher. But no, that's interesting that it's the intrusive thoughts that are associated with it. And it could even be tied down to or associated with something as simple as just picking out the shirt you're going to wear for the day. That's really interesting. So what have been some of the what have been some of the key things that you've learned about yourself throughout your education and dealing with not even maybe just your own challenges, but maybe challenges of people that you know uh, that might help us and those of us listening to better understand mental health.
I think that regardless of whatever issue I was dealing with at hand, I realized through actually dealing with them and actually going to get treatment that I am a much stronger person than I ever gave myself credit for. I mean, I am on a daily basis doing things that, if you asked me 10 years ago, I'd be like, there's absolutely no way on God's green earth I am ever doing what you're saying right now. And I am. I'm doing it somehow. I mean, to give an example with, I have PTSD as well, and I've been doing exposure therapy for both PTSD and OCD, and it's terrifying. Exposure therapy for PTSD is literally closing your eyes and reliving the horrible experience over and over again, recording yourself talking about it and listening to it 3 times a day. So the things that I have been trying to avoid for my entire life, I am now just taking and saying, all right, let's see what happens. Let's do this and just see what happens. And sitting with that uncertainty and sitting with that fear is something that I never thought I'd be able to do. And it's given me so much insight on myself as a person, the world around me, and just like human behavior in general. It's been an incredible experience and was and still is the hardest thing I have ever done.
Well, bravo to you for being able to overcome that stuff. You're a fantastic person, and I'll be honest with you. I don't know how. Well, let me put this a different way. The world would certainly be a better, or would be a worse off place than if we did not have the Genevieve that we've all come to know and love over these past several months. Uh,
Thank
it's
you.
it's just that simple. So, uh, and I mean, you got a cute ass dog too. I mean, Felix is adorable. But no, I'm really happy to hear that you have come as far as you have. So I applaud you for that. Uh,
Thank you.
as for me, if we could, I'd like to talk a little bit about diagnosis for some of this stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
So I want this to kind of serve as a public service announcement as well to more to the men out there. So recently, and if you go onto my personal channel, Sling'N Ginger, I recently released a video, kind of I'm tired of being fat, I'm going to get back in shape type deal, but also that I was recently diagnosed as having low testosterone. Now, I say this because if you look at the symptoms associated with low testosterone in men, or low T, uh, some of that is depression, anxiety, mood swings. There's a lot of mental health related or similar symptoms associated with many mental health issues that go along with having low testosterone. Uh, and one of the things that I have been trying to talk to and educate people on is that while Genevieve and I are both sitting here explaining to saying, hey, if you're having these problems, go get help. At the same time, while you should go get that help, don't be so quick to swallow whatever pill they're trying to throw down your throat. While I was sitting in that room with that doctor, and we're going over kind of the consultation before they even drew the blood, the doctor kind of looked me up and down, and while I was explaining to him what was going on, one of his primary responses was, "Well, there are several other things that could be causing those symptoms you're experiencing." And he was alluding to one of two things. One, my weight, or just being out of shape in general. Admittedly, sedentary lifestyles are prone to depression and other mental health issues. But also because the doctor himself is a veteran. Through the course of our conversation, he had obviously seen that I was a veteran and was starting to talk. I saw that he was trying to start connecting dots to the more common themes that doctors and therapists try to make they try to make these days. And I didn't accept it. I was like, listen, I'll tell you what, I'll make a deal with you. You do what I ask you to do and just draw the damn blood, because stuff like this is just a blood test. Draw the blood. If my numbers come back and I'm within a healthy range for my age group and whatever have you, fine. We'll talk about other options and other things that might be affecting me. But if it's not, let's just move on with the treatment. And the reason that I came here was because I think I just have low testosterone. Come to find out, all the stuff that he was trying to associate with being out of shape, being obese, or whatever the case might be, or depression or anxiety, just turned out to be a simple hormone imbalance. And this is nothing that any of us can control. Everybody goes through this to some degree or another. So go get the help, go talk to your doctor, but understand everything that's out there. Just don't go out there. I don't know if you guys see it as often as I do, but I've got placement and access with, certain pharmacies and pharmacy technicians and stuff like that. I see the amount of antipsychotics and antidepressants and all these big pharma drugs that keep getting pumped down our throats every single day. And the side effects of people that get onto stuff like that and then come off of it are tremendous. So get help, but be smart about it.
Thank you for saying that.
That is my PSA for that.
That was, wow. Thank you so much for saying that, TJ. That is some incredible advice. I mean, like, seriously, if anyone's listening to this going through that, please just listen to everything that he just said.
Yeah, it's simple. So let's break it down real quick. So I'm 35 years old. I'm 5'9", about 240-ish pounds. 250. Okay, 250. But I'm a big dude, right? I've got I'm Russian and Scottish genealogy. We are big boys in my family, right? I've got 2 healthy kids. Got a healthy love life with my wife. To all intents and purposes, I'm a pretty average guy. But when you go in there and you going through, the hair loss, difficulty losing weight, all this other stuff, and then the depression, the mood swings, the anxiety, it could have easily been PTSD, right? Very easily could have been. But come to find out, just a hormone imbalance, just low testosterone. And I'll tell you what, I've been doing testosterone replacement therapy I'm on month 2, and I'm already feeling better.
Good.
Already. Right? So, yeah, guys, don't be so quick to be dumping those pills down your throat. Now, granted, by all means, if you truly need them, by all means, consult your physician and take follow their directions. I'm not a doctor or a psychiatrist. I can't prescribe or recommend anything to you, but I can recommend that you proceed responsibly. So I'm going to get off my soapbox with that one.
And do some research too. Like everyone should do research before putting something in their mouth.
Yeah, absolutely. No, everyone wants to talk about, death by gun.
Right.
How about death from medical malpractice? Right? Just because there's you know what they call somebody you know what they call a med student who graduates with a D-? Doctor. Just put that into perspective, or sir, in case you join the military. But no, dead serious, guys. Just because they're a doctor, I'm going to quote my mother here for a second. But whenever she's introduced to a professional, like, oh well, I'm a brain surgeon or a rocket scientist, she goes, yeah, but are you good at it?
That's great.
Anybody can claim a title, but are you good at it is the question. So, folks,
feeling that.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a t-shirt. But it's just do your homework, figure out what you got. By all means, be very wary of misdiagnoseyourself.com.
Right.
But yeah, like I'm sorry, I wasn't going to I wanted to be tested for something, and I made sure that I got tested. Don't be afraid to challenge your doctor. So that's what that is. So Genevieve, what else do you got for us tonight? We're starting to hit that hour mark, and I'm starting to run dry on good question to ask you.
I'm like, I keep looking at the clock, and I'm very disappointed because I could just be on here talking to you for another like hour and a half tonight. But I think you said get off your soapbox, but it was an excellent point. So don't doubt yourself there or downplay that. That was incredible what you said. And I'd like to add to it too that I I haven't said this publicly ever before, but I mean, everything that I'm talking about with red flag laws, it doesn't matter if I do or not at this point. I've been on an antidepressant for 7 years. And the thing that you're talking about, the situation that you're describing, that's what happened to me. When I was graduating high school, I started having the onset of panic disorder and I didn't feel like I was real. I was constantly having these like super elevated heart rates. I mean, like 250 beats a minute at least when I was admitted into hospitals and stuff like that. I get non-epileptic seizures. I pass out sometimes. It's like really bad. So on like my third visit to the hospital when I was a teenager, the doctor said, you need to go to this doctor. Like you need to do something about it. And of course they took me to a regular physician, not a mental health professional, not a therapist, not anyone who could actually help me. I was in the office for about 5 minutes and I left on an antidepressant. And I do not want to be on it anymore because it does nothing for me. However, I can't get off of it because every time that I try to, I get the most horrible withdrawal in the world. And I feel like I have the flu perpetually and just am dizzy all the time and sweating and shaking. Like they say it's not addictive and it absolutely is. And I'm on a very low dose.
Oh yeah. It's like you get sucked into a parallel dimension.
Oh yeah. And it's really bad. And let me tell you, I started exposure therapy not even a year ago, and that is the only thing that has ever made a difference in my life. Like, let's think about that for a second. I've been on a medication that the doctor said would cure me of this illness, right? For 6 years before I started exposure therapy. And when I did this particular type of therapy, that's what started helping. So I really just want to encourage anybody listening who thinks that they're at the lowest point in their life and they're terrified. Like, I understand, and I'm here for you, and TJ's here for you. And please, just please try to deal with it at the source before you just mask it with a medication, because that is like I don't want to say mistake because I was really young and I was terrified, but it's a decision that I really wish that I had made differently. And if anyone's in the position where they can make that decision differently, I really encourage you to do that, even though it's really, really scary, and I get it. But this, it's for life now. Like this is what it is, and to get off of it is going to really, really suck.
Yeah, but when it comes to that point, you've got the support network if you need it.
Well, thank you.
So,
and yeah, they don't even really know what they do. I remember saying I don't have depression because I've never felt depressed really. And I remember saying I don't have depression, and they're like, yeah, but if you give high enough doses of this antidepressant, it's supposed to help with OCD and panic disorder. I'm like, okay, so you said nothing with a period. All of those sentences ended with question marks. Like, this is supposed to do something if we give you the high enough dose. Like,
yeah, what
does like
what's with the inflection at the end of that statement there,
yeah,
buddy?
it's so unsettling. I mean, like,
when did we end up on Jeopardy? Where's Alex Trebek?
But the bottom line is that mental health diagnoses are, in my opinion, a bunch of crap because people label someone who's coming in just so that insurance can pay them. Like it's crazy. I mean, there's so many problems with the system. I could go on forever, but I digress.
No, fair enough. So I did take the liberty of answering for you, but I'm going to give you the opportunity to correct me. We got a question in the chat. What's with the NASA flag? My response was she's a space nerd. Absolutely answering for her on this one. Did I get that right?
Yeah, 100%. I have like a really high-end telescope back there too. My Celestron.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what? That just speaks to the level of nerd that you are, because I don't know anybody that can name the make and model of their telescope. Like, I had a telescope as a kid, but it was like, hey, where's my telescope? not the Celestron or the Galactic Space Stare, the Hubble, whatever the case might be. Yeah, that's you're so awesome. But you gotta love the nerd that is
Thanks.
Genevieve. So Genevieve, with that, we are kind of getting to our time limit here. So I'd like to give you the floor to kind of
Sure.
open up or close us out with whatever you might have. Um, anything that you might be working on, where people can find you. In short, plug your wares.
Well, I'm most active on Instagram, Beyond the Unknown. I'm pretty sure it comes up with or without the dots in between the words, but you can find me on Instagram. I also have a Facebook page, which is also Beyond the Unknown. John, who is my boyfriend, he hosts the Gun Collective, where I do videos on there with him, which is super fun. Hold My Guns, the nonprofit that Sarah Albrecht and I are co-founding. Really excited about that. That's on the forefront of things that I'm super pumped about in my life right now. And I also hope to be starting my own podcast soon. So yeah, I guess look out for announcements on that. And TJ's definitely going to be on it. You don't have a choice.
No, I'm totally cool with it. As a matter of fact, I was even going to recommend that when it comes time to start breaking out the conspiracy theories,
Yeah,
I'll be there front row center.
that sounds great, man.
I mean, I don't go so far as to wear the tinfoil hats, but there's some stuff that makes you wonder, right?
Oh
I'm
yeah.
not saying it's true, but watch this watch the Zapruder film again. That's all I'm going to say. For those
I
play
can
for
get
the,
there,
for those
buddy.
for those playing the home game, the Zapruder film was the key piece of evidence of the Kennedy assassination. Yeah, I'm flexing my conspiracy muscles on you. But yeah, so anything else, Genevieve? By the way, we all look forward to that podcast. That's going to be fantastic.
Oh, thank you. No, I mean, I think that's it. Hold My Guns, Beyond the Unknown, and the Gun Collective. Check them out.
Yeah, kind of a big deal. So, folks, Genevieve, thank you so much for coming on the show again. You have an open invitation. You don't even have to ask. You just tell Kent or myself when you want to come on. We'll make room for you. And same goes for John as well. John, if you're watching, uh, you can bring your lovely, moisturized and blown hair style right on over to our channel anytime. There's a surprise. Gun Collective has a code for Ulta Beauty Supply.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This is great. I'm so happy I told you that.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna beat that dead horse all night long. But with that, folks, I really do appreciate a special shout out to our guests in chat. Thank you for participating and tuning in. If you're new to the channel, by all means, feel free to subscribe. Follow Kent. Green Mountain Defense on Instagram, Green Mountain Defense on YouTube, his individual channel. Again, congrats to him and Sophia for the birth of their beautiful baby boy, James, yesterday. Happy birthday, little dude. We really look forward to meeting you.
Mhm.
Please feel free to follow my stuff on Instagram and my own individual YouTube channel as well, Lead Sling and Ginger, all the way around Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. It's all there. You can also find me on, or my articles. I am a writer. You can find some of my articles published on thegunpoint.com and also every week-ish here on the Sling'N Lead podcast. If you missed the live show, by all means, be sure to subscribe to us on your favorite podcast player. We are everywhere: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Slacker, something or other. Pick one. We're there. So by all means, folks, we look forward to hearing from you. Post your questions and comments below. Hit that thumbs up button if you like what we're doing. Thumbs down if you don't. And until we see each other again, get out and shoot.